right, y'all. So I'm so excited. I'm here doing the GLAAD event. This is so excited, to meet the cohorts of this year's 2026. Let's go. Because there are moments that we're just like, this is too heavy. And can I even handle that? But I think of identity a lot and the human behind the art. Has your identity, or when you think of your identity, how has your identity shaped the type of stories and the type of art that you tell to the world?
So, what's interesting is that I consider my life to be my biggest story that I tell, and I am the main protagonist. So, when it comes to living my life, I want to soak up as many experiences as possible so that I can share those experiences. I always want to tell a story from experience and real life. Um, so, yeah, that I'm gonna pass it on after that because I'm always afraid of rambling. I'm like, oh
No,
no,
yeah, yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
thank God.
I think I'm just been piggybacking off of Tessa. I think that some of my greatest works are from life experience. I think I'm able to speak truth to those stories because it's something that I've personally experienced. So I do use a lot of my life in my work. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up in a predominantly white community, being a black gay man, I didn't always feel seen or understood or safe. And so much of my work is really dedicated to broadening the aperture of how people see blackness and black male identity and the different ways in which masculinity can present itself, ways that are not always seen in mainstream media and culture. So
I want to stay with that really quick. What kinds, because I do want you to answer this one, what kinds of Black LGBTQIA narratives are still missing from mainstream media right now when it comes to as artists in film and television, with the art world? What do you still feel like is missing within those narratives within our community?
oof. I mean, I would love to see more black, queer love and safety. I think most people, know what heated rivalry is. And while I absolutely loved that show, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that I would love for something like that where I could see myself. Or see characters in those types of narratives that resemble me, where I can see a love on screen that feels healthy, and nourished and full. So I think that's something that we could see more of.
Yeah, for me, I would say black queer sci-fi, and that's something that I'm doing right now. I'm working on a black queer sci-fi, and I think that's something that I would love to see more of that representation. To know that we can play those roles, and that is possible. So yeah.
Um, I think that we are missing LGBTQ plus representation. In the unscripted space, honestly, what I want to see more from us is just normalization. Every time they tell a story about us, is this coming out? Something horrible happened to us. We overcome something, yeah, big. It's always a trauma about our identity. And I I watch so many reality shows. Let me tell you, it's my guilty pleasure, and I just feel like we are lacking in the representation there. I just want to see a group of lesbians go to Dinah Shore. I want to see the boys gear up and go to Fire Island. Like I just want to see our people have fun, live their life, and just be normalized the way that other spaces and marginalized groups are. Even we are getting so close to scratching all the surfaces, but we have still not gotten there. And I just want to turn us on and see us have fun and live our life and let our hair down. And I could use more of that. Yeah.
Please, absolutely.
I mean, I want more of us in those rooms. I want, more of our project.
Legacy in future? I always love to ask this question, even during my interviews, after my interviews, because these are moments that, as the type of world we're living in, and even when things work great, we do have to think about legacy. What does power first look like for you now, and has that definition evolved?
Yes. Power looks like for me now, having the ability to control how I live and the conditions of how I live and how that relates to everything in my life. Um, so because I I don't know, just a little older now, I desire peace, and I desire complete. You okay? In, incomplete agency over um, everything I do resource wise, and so I'm looking for the power for myself to have the agency to live in such a free way that what I do is not determined by how much it makes or things like that. Um, so power shifts. It looks like a change in landscape for me. And what's the other part of the question?
No, that's it.
Okay.
When you think of just like the power of the piece, I think for you, I think that's the beauty, right? I think y'all are looking for a little bit of silence and easy. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to second that because for me, power is just control of my own narrative, navigating New York, Arkansas, just being in control of my decisions, where I want my art to showcase, manifesting different opportunities, and like just putting it into the universe because it always gives back. So yeah, that's why I see power at.
Yeah, now that part. And then when we think about legacy, DEI has been, of course, the topic of conversation for years. It's not just happened to be a conversation. How do you define equity, not just inclusion, within the entertainment and media spaces?
I don't know.
That's okay. It's
Because, well, I would say, okay, it's probably somewhere in narrative and
and entertainment spaces could mean
right.
in the artist spaces,
No,
in the
hmm
whatever spaces.
in entertainment too. I'm thinking about like TV shows and things like that. The things that I see that I'm like, I'm happy that it exists now.
Yeah.
I also grew up in the '90s, so like I lived through a media and like entertainment landscape that exampled me in so many different ways. Um, so to see it shift, I think uh, it's good to remember that, like, to not have a short memory. We're not always going to be in this moment. And the moment is always that we are trying to find ways to empower, to do. So I'm like, t- a moment like this is a great time to create. It's a great time to, and it's because of its constriction, it's already creating so many people who are fighting against it. So I'm thinking we're going to see another spring of beautiful television, more voices. Following so many independent news sources, things that we wouldn't have done or known if we weren't brought to this. Again, it's a faith practice. So you have to be brought to the ledge to know, are you jumping or are you continuing?
There you go.
You got to keep going.
There you go. And for you, I was gonna say, what does it look like? Not just equity, but also inclusion in these spaces right now when it comes to the media, the artist landscape. What does it look like?
I would say that I am seeing more black and brown like showcases of artists, whether that's musicians, art, script writers, shows. I think we're coming to a place where people are kind of understanding as like being an artist, it's our job to kind of like connect and showcase black and brown communities and tell our stories. And I think that is getting better. I think we have a long way to go, but um, it is nice seeing more black and brown artists show and show up for one another, support, and just be in community. Um, yeah, yeah.
And then when you think of just one word, legacy, was there a moment that you were just like, you know what? I'm tired. This ain't it.
Well, I think yes, and I walked away, and I haven't been back. I was a fashion designer for about 15 years, and I never wanted to leave. I thought that was it. This is my life, but it was so difficult, and until my mother got sick, and I didn't have money to cover her medicine. And I was like, what am I doing in this industry that is not giving me anything back? So if fashion is totally different from art, you have it's so much money you have to spend to create a collection. And I walked away and I said, that's it. I'm not going back. And then I started doing something else, creative. Then I started becoming, I wanted to be a painter. Then I'm a painter now. And it has been great, you know. So I wanted to walk away, and I did. And sometimes you have to walk away. because there is a path that you take, and maybe you need a break. Maybe I go back to fashion, and maybe I mix both art and fashion, painting. But at that time, I had to walk away, and I did, and I'm grateful that I did walk away. So there are many times that you just have to, because sometimes we think if we walk away, all these years that I spent, but all those years that you spend in an industry, you can use it for something else. So it's never too late to start again. So yeah.
As
So
long as we still got breath in our body, we can always start again. Have you ever just wanted to walk away? Right? I always like to just restate that question at times. So people don't understand. Sometimes we just want to walk away, but sometimes you don't.
I've quit this many times. like, but I guess just different versions of what, like, my photography today doesn't look like it did 5 years ago. Um, I ran an indie music blog for 7 years. And so that's why I was always shooting music and concerts. And I thought I was going on this track and I would go on tour with someone. And it just didn't happen. And then you realize there wasn't money in music. And I'm like, I am glorifying, like, this idea that's not coming true, and again, like, while the pandemic was really devastating, it almost saved my work because I was like, you should just stop this. And it made me shift in covering black art, black queer art, documenting my people, making sure our legacies are preserved. I was a historian at an organization when I was at Howard, and a lot of the things I learned started to come back to me where I'm like, okay, who's telling our stories right now of this generation, especially because a lot of us millennials will live in nostalgia. And I'm like, okay, but we're here now. What do we look like? And so I think from actually quitting, it opened up a new avenue, and a new frame of eye, like me returning back to something that I'd already learned and already loved versus like chasing what I felt like what was popular. Like, I think a lot of times I was like, oh, if I just photograph Beyonce or Rihanna or this, it's like I'll make it. And to what you said earlier, my friends are beautiful. Like, they need to be in my studio. Like, it's not necessarily how I shoot an artist, but it's how I shoot people, So it doesn't matter who's in front of my lens. Like, everybody's meant to be photographed and to be chronicled, and everybody's beautiful. Yeah.
Was there ever a moment for you? You were like, you know what, I'm done. I'm just about to go to Times Square and these crazy people in New York City doing what they do.
No. Yeah, mostly because like I take a lot of breaks, right? But I wouldn't say I've ever walked away. And I think the thing is, my work is so specific that it's kind of like, I think I had a moment a couple months ago and I was like, damn, you still doing this? Like, and so clearly it matters to me, right? But like how much I'm doing it or how often will change depending on capacity. And I'm very aware of that. Like, I need to feed myself first before I can like continue to do the work. But a lot of the work too was just thinking.
I
Hmm.
want to sit with that for 2 seconds. What does feeding yourself look like? Because
Um,
a lot of people don't understand, and I think someone told me, sorry I interrupt you, I was thinking about, because I'm a Pisces, I told everyone my birthday's coming up.
and I'm a Virgo,
There we go.
sister sign.
They said that the, the, whatever is going on right now is called a reset, right? For me, I don't know how to reset. But for you, what does that look like?
I mean, that's a hard one because sometimes I don't either. But I think some days it looks like I can tell when I'm tired because you know that whole thing where they're like, you can't make up sleep. You just have to sleep. Like, you can't get that. You can't. So it's like sometimes it's like me, like I might get out of bed, make breakfast, and I'm lying on the couch all day. Sometimes it's reading. When it's summer in New York, it's getting outdoors. But mostly galleries. I think like any little thing, whether that's playing video games, hanging out with some friends, so much of it is hanging out with friends. Like, sometimes I forget that like people pour into you and like you need to be around them. So even if I'm not feeling my best, it's like, who do I know that I can be around that requires no effort? And like just by them being themselves, like I am like, I leave being like, okay, I'm glad I came to this thing. And I like am that happens a lot more now where I'm like, okay, like this is helpful. And sometimes it's just being around my family too. I think a couple months ago, because I'm initially from Harlem and I just visited some family just across the boroughs, right? Um, and it was just so nice to be around my niece. And I was like, wow, I don't know how much, I didn't realize how much I needed that. So it's the things you don't expect. And sometimes it looks like shopping, and sometimes it looks like taking yourself out to eat. But it's like, yeah, it's like whatever feels good in that moment.
Yeah, that could be every day for me. I'm a Cancer, so I'm always feeding, my emotions first. But I don't think, like, I've known I was going to be a designer since I was 12, and I decided that's what I was going to be, and I have never changed my mind. I think it can evolve and I could pivot, and I realized that I have to show what I'm capable of to be in bigger rooms and bigger spaces. That's on me to prove. So that's personal projects, but also that is pouring into myself. And so the thing I'm excited about right now is I found an art therapist. She is a 10-minute walk from my apartment, and she is a Black woman, and we have not started yet. We start next week. And I'm really excited because, I feel like my entire life I've had to compartmentalize. So I've had to be strong to get through things. And I'm realizing that I actually have to process. And that's actually going to make me a better artist. Like being able to sit in my feelings, especially as a person who's very sensitive, I need to be able to pour into myself the same way I pour into my friends and my community. Because I do love people. I do feel very restored by being around people. But then I sometimes will sit and be like, well, what did I do for me? And sometimes I don't have the answer for that. As a creative, it is really important to be able to, to be able to pour into you because, we are our work. Like it is part of us. Yeah, right.
Think of power.
And with all of these people. And I think for me, that's been one of the most empowering things is to be in like just a group cohort of amazing, beautiful brown and black queer folks that are doing amazing work and amazing art. And, community is so important. I think after 2020, it was hard to be in community space for a long time. And, I'm from Hell's Kitchen. I'm coming from New York. Like, I grew up in the clubs, like, and that was such a big part of my life and where I found belonging. And then after 2020, it felt very, like, quiet. And then coming into your 30s, it's, like, different in terms of, like, making new friends and all that kind of stuff. And, being in community is what also massages your creativity, and when you can talk to other people that are doing interesting things and not even just about art, but just about life, what are you doing or what are you seeing or what are you just thinking about, and I think that is the most powerful thing is to bring creative minds into a space and be like, what are you thinking about? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's empowering because like also like being part of a community, you kind of feel more like it's like you kind of have like a a a bigger fire underneath you. I don't know, just yeah, exactly. Yeah, it does. Yeah. No, yeah, seriously, and it's yeah, like the theme of community, um, and I heard overheard heard uh I don't know, overheard someone say like getting like being around your friends even, and um like when I'm around my friends, it's like people I feel safe around, and I feel safe around this cohort, like just black and queer, and 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 seeing you guys do amazing work, and like just meeting you guys in person. Also, I don't know, just like yeah, it feels good. Yeah. So like, I'm gonna go back to cold New York. Hopefully, hopefully it's warmer. Yeah. Yeah, and like paint again, and like I'll have this in the back of my mind. So yeah, it's a great opportunity. I'm grateful. Yeah.
How has this experience helped you or hasn't, helped you negotiate or pitch or just kind of show up differently?
I'd say that it's helped me in the sense that, as they both said, it's affirming. It's really affirming. I think that, even though what Ari was saying earlier about like the imposter syndrome, like you're here, and the fact if you reframe it and think, and I'm speaking to myself too, right, as I say this, and think that like I just started and I'm here, that's nuts. Like there's people and that's great too, but that have been doing this a long time. You know what I mean? So I think for me, like I said, reflecting that back, like I feel the same way. Like I just started, I've been doing collage for maybe 3 years or so, 3 years. I've been a creative my entire life. I've been an artist my entire life, but really leaning into like this is what I am, 3 years, and I think that having opportunities like this really affirm me in that and validate me in that. I'd love to say I don't need that validation, but I'm a human, right? And I do. It's nice, right? It's nice to be accounted for and praised for the work that you do and accepted into something. So it's done that for me.
Right? I'm an artist. I want you to respect my I typically I'm sensitive. I always ask this question as I wrap up my shows about legacy and power. Um, who are you building for now? Right? Your younger self, your community, or generations ahead?
Ooh, deep, deep, deep question. I think generation. I'm not gonna lie. As an artist, you're applying to at least 50 things a year. You might not even hear back. You're gonna get rejection emails. So this was like a huge confidence. Glad said I welcome you, and I'm like, thank you. The doors are open, and I don't know. It was a huge confidence boost, and it actually allowed me to like take a step back and see how I'm positioning myself in the art world. I feel like for the first couple of years of my journey, I'm self-taught, so I was just really learning a lot of technical things and how to create art, but I never really got into the business side of art, how to navigate yourself and position yourself in the art world. So, yes, yes. Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's super important. So thankfully, with this fellowship, I've been able to take a step back and kind of focus more on that side and how my art is going to show up in the world. So that is something I'm really tremendously grateful for sure.
For me, it was an ego boost too, for sure. But I have been talking about transforming my workshop for a long time. On the teacher salary, I had folding tables as my workbench. I bought all the tools, but I just had to do what I needed to do on the teacher salary. And so when I got this grant, I said, oh, period, I could redo my whole shop. And so now working in a new workshop, it has truly transformed how I move when I'm creating my art. Everything flows. It's amazing. It really is amazing.
Um, yeah, definitely confidence boost. um, for me, the acceptance actually came after a time where I hadn't created for a while. I'm still working on my undergraduate degree, so I just took some time to focus on school. Um, and then I got the acceptance, and I was like, okay, maybe I am doing something right. Like this is where I should be. Especially after not creating for a while, and I don't cater to other people. I try to create the work that I want to see, and sometimes it's hard to get into spaces with that kind of work. So glad saying yes was like, okay, I'm doing what I need to be doing. Yeah, exactly.
Right. This is a question I always ask as I always wrap my shows about legacy and power. What does power look like for you now, and how has that definition really evolved in this space with the EMEI cohort? I'm gonna go with you
Okay, okay, period. I have this interesting relationship with power, because the government, there's so much power. They say they have this power, but truly I believe that the people have the power. And so power for me looks like community. Power for me looks like stepping into my own self and creating works that reflect my story. And power for me just looks like living authentically, regardless of what the community has to say. That's it.
I'm gonna switch it up with y'all three. You guys don't get to answer that question. I know, and this is how I love to do this. Even on the red carpets, people hate me when I do this. A couple of celebrities like, oh, we're not going to Jameer. I heard he asked this. For you, if you had a blank check and full creative control, what story would you tell immediately with your art?
So what story would I tell immediately? That is, I kind of want to continue the one I'm telling now, to be honest. Yes, I feel like my work really showcases a different side of masculinity, and it really gives it all these access points and allows you to access it from all different avenues, not just like survival or rigidity. You can really be soft, you can melt into it, and also, most importantly, that it's not inherently
for cis men, like black trans men, people who weren't birthed that right. That doesn't mean they can't be men. That doesn't mean they can't be vocal in those ways and show up in those ways. I think that's the story that I want to tell. That's a creative project I would love to get behind and showcase.
You know I'm about to come at you. When people describe you 5 years from now, as you are still building and going to get that amazing degree and you're going to keep doing what you do and blessing the world with your creativeness, what do you hope they say changed because you were here?
Ooh. I know not to go to you at a red carpet. What changed? I honestly, probably something on